When Keanu Reeves walks into a high-end bank wearing simple clothes, no one gives him a second glance except a judge. The staff barely acknowledge him. The customers exchange knowing smirks, and the teller at the counter, he doesn't even try to hide his disdain. But Keanu isn't here to impress anyone. He just wants to make a withdrawal. The banker Ryan laughs under his breath, already convinced that this ordinary man doesn't belong. He toys with Keanu's black card, barely taking it seriously, ready to send him on his way. What happens next? Well, let's just say in a matter of minutes, Ryan will go from arrogant to speechless. The entire bank will fall silent, and by the time Keanu walks out the door, nothing will ever be the same again. The clock read 2:37 p.m. when Keanu Reeves pushed through the revolving doors of one of the city's most exclusive banks. Inside, the atmosphere was a display of luxury and formality. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. The marble floors gleamed under the warm lighting, and impeccably dressed bankers smiled only at customers they deemed worthy of their attention. Keanu didn't seem to belong there. Wearing a simple black t-shirt, worn-out jeans, and a cap that had seen better days, he walked in without haste, heading straight toward the service counter. To the untrained eye, he could have been mistaken for a tourist or perhaps someone who had walked in by mistake. As he moved forward, heads subtly turned in his direction. Whispered conversations broke out among the well-dressed clients waiting in line. A man in a navy blue suit exchanged glances with his wife, furrowing his brows. An older woman clutched her Prada purse a little tighter, as if instinctively protecting it. At the main counter, Ryan, a well-groomed banker who prided himself on distinguishing truly wealthy clients from mere pretenders, noticed Keanu approaching. His eyes flicked over the man standing before him, and without hesitation, he adopted a tone of impatient authority. "Sir, the line for regular customers is at the back of the branch." He gestured dismissively, as one might wave off a beggar at the door. Keanu paused for a moment. His calm gaze met the banker's. There was no anger, no indignation, just a serene expression, as if he had encountered this kind of treatment before. "I just need to make a withdrawal." Ryan let out a short, dry chuckle, shaking his head. "A withdrawal," he repeated, looking Keanu up and down. "Are you sure you even have an account here? Because this bank doesn't deal with just anyone." The silence that followed was deafening. Some clients pretended not to pay attention, but it was clear they were waiting to see how this would unfold. Keanu remained composed. Without a word, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a sleek black card. With a slow, deliberate motion, he placed it on the counter. Ryan took the card with disdain, treating it like just another piece of plastic. He smirked, tossing it onto the counter. "So, are you sure you even have an account here, sir?" he asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Keanu simply gave a calm nod. Ryan chuckled, crossing his arms. "All right then, what can I do for you?" "A withdrawal?" Ryan raised an eyebrow. "A withdrawal?" He let out a short laugh. "All right, and how much are we talking about?" Keanu remained composed. "Enough." Ryan let out a dramatic sigh, as if this entire situation was a massive inconvenience. "I really don't want to embarrass you, but this is an exclusive bank. We don't just serve anyone who walks in off the street." Ryan smirked. A well-dressed woman in the line adjusted the Prada bag on her shoulder, letting out a quiet giggle. Her husband exchanged a knowing glance with Ryan, as if they all shared an unspoken understanding. This man didn't belong here. But Keanu remained unmoved. "All right, fine." Ryan picked up the card, turning it over in his fingers. "I'll run it through the system. But just so we're clear, if this card gets declined or doesn't match a valid account, I'm going to have to ask you to leave immediately." Keanu gave another slow nod, completely unfazed. "That's fine." Without hesitation, Ryan swiped the card through the machine. The system began processing, and that was when everything changed. Ryan looked at the screen. His smug smile vanished instantly. His jaw slackened slightly before he quickly clenched it shut. His breath caught in his throat for just a second. He blinked once, twice. This couldn't be right. He checked again and again. The color drained from his face. His hand trembled slightly as he gripped the mouse, his eyes darting across the screen, as if willing the numbers to change. But there was no mistake. $322 million. Ryan had spent the last few minutes publicly mocking a man whose wealth was beyond his comprehension. Ryan, a nearby banker, called, noticing his sudden change in demeanor. Ryan swallowed hard. That was when the bank manager, a distinguished middle-aged man in a perfectly tailored gray suit, noticed the disturbance and walked over. "Ryan, is there a problem?" The banker hesitated, then turned the computer screen toward the manager. The man leaned in to look, and the moment he saw the numbers, his face froze as well. Ryan was sweating now. This is to be a mistake," he muttered under his breath. The manager double-checked the numbers. No, it was no mistake. The silence in the bank became overwhelming. The manager took a deep breath and turned to Ryan. "Serve Mr. Reeves properly now." Ryan swallowed hard. He could feel the weight of 100 eyes on him. Slowly, he turned back to Keanu. All the arrogance in his voice was gone. "But, Mr. Reeves," he stammered. But before he could continue, Keanu finally broke his silence. "So, if my name was written on my cap, would I have been treated differently?" Ryan froze. The weight of those words hit like a hammer. What could he possibly say? There was no answer. Behind him, the manager shifted uncomfortably. Keanu didn't look angry. He didn't need to be. The truth had already been revealed, and now everyone in the bank knew exactly what had just happened. Ryan realized he hadn't just underestimated a customer. He had just destroyed his own reputation in front of everyone. The manager stepped forward, clearing his throat. "Mr. Reeves, we sincerely apologize for any inconvenience." His voice trembled slightly. Keanu met the manager's gaze, his expression calm but intense. He wasn't yelling, wasn't angry, but that made it worse. The truth was already echoing across the room. Ryan, still seated behind the counter, could feel the eyes of every single person in the bank piercing into him. He finally managed to stutter out a few words. "Mr. Reeves, would you like to continue with your transaction?" Keanu studied him for a moment, then spoke. "Tell me, Ryan, if my name had been written on my cap, would you have treated me differently?" Ryan had no words, because they both knew the answer. The manager quickly stepped in again. "Mr. Reeves, allow me to personally assist you in our VIP lounge." Keanu reached forward and took his black card back from Ryan's trembling hands. Then, with quiet dignity, he turned and walked away. The silence in the bank was deafening as Keanu walked toward the exit. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. And as he reached the door, he paused for just a moment. Without turning around, he said one last thing. "Your bank should treat people with respect, no matter what they wear." And with that, he walked out the door, leaving the bank in complete, stunned silence. The heavy glass doors of the bank swung shut behind Keanu Reeves, but the weight of his final words lingered over everyone inside. Ryan remained frozen behind the counter. His face was ashen, his mouth slightly open, as if struggling to find words that couldn't do what had just happened. But there were none. The bank manager was the first to move. He took a deep breath and straightened his tie, his sharp eyes darting to Ryan. "Come with me." The words were quiet, but the command in them was undeniable. Ryan stood from his chair and followed the manager into his private office. As the door clicked shut, the other bankers and customers finally exhaled, exchanging shocked glances. Was that really Keanu Reeves? Did you see that banker's face when he checked the balance? That guy just ruined his entire career in under 10 minutes. Ryan stood stiffly in front of the manager's polished mahogany desk. The older man leaned back in his chair, his fingers steepled as he studied the banker before him. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" Ryan's throat was so dry he could barely swallow. "So, you insulted one of the wealthiest clients this bank has ever had," Ryan flinched. "And not only did you humiliate him," the manager continued, "you did it in front of staff, high-profile customers, and security cameras that record everything." Ryan's stomach twisted. "This will go viral," the manager added, rubbing his temples. "Do you realize what happens when someone like Keanu Reeves is publicly humiliated in a bank like ours?" Ryan said nothing. The manager reached for his phone. "Yes, I need a PR crisis team in my office immediately." The realization hit Ryan like a freight train. This was bigger than him now. The bank's entire reputation was at stake, and his job gone. Keanu Reeves walked down the sidewalk, his pace steady, his expression unchanged. He reached a quiet corner and stopped, taking a deep breath. He wasn't angry. He wasn't surprised. He had experienced things like this his whole life, people who judged others by their appearance. But today, he had made sure that lesson would never be forgotten. The fallout from the confrontation had already begun. Inside the bank, tension was at an all-time high. Employees whispered among themselves. The manager was locked in his office with the PR team. Customers who had witnessed the humiliation of Ryan exchanged looks. A woman in a navy blue suit, Rebecca Carter, the bank's top crisis management expert, sat across from the manager, typing notes on her tablet. So, let me get this straight, she glanced at Ryan. A teller just humiliated Keanu Reeves in front of an audience. The manager nodded grimly. Rebecca picked up the manager's phone. A video was already circulating on social media. The caption, "Bank teller mocks Keanu Reeves, instantly regrets it." Rebecca's jaw clenched. We're already too late. Keanu Reeves sat in a quiet cafe a few blocks away, sipping a simple black coffee. His phone was vibrating non-stop. Messages, calls, emails. His agent had texted, "Keanu, we need to talk now." His PR manager, "This thing is blowing up." He scrolled through his feed. The video was everywhere. Millions had watched it. Thousands were commenting, furious at how he had been treated. Inside the bank's corporate headquarters, Rebecca stood in front of executives. "We have two options." She clicked a button on the screen. 1. Ignore it. Hope the scandal dies down. 2. Apologize immediately, publicly, sincerely. The CEO frowned. "How bad is it?" "Sir, we're trending #1 worldwide," Rebecca said. Within hours, the bank released a statement. "We deeply regret the incident involving Mr. Keanu Reeves. The behavior exhibited does not reflect our values. We have reached out to Mr. Reeves personally to express our sincerest apologies and will implement new training protocols." For a full day, Keanu remained silent. Then, he posted on his official account. "Keanu Reeves, a lesson in respect. What happened at the bank happens to people all the time. I hope this serves as a reminder. Kindness costs nothing." 1 month later, Keanu walked into a different bank, dressed the same way. Simple black t-shirt, worn-out jeans, faded cap. The teller smiled. "Good afternoon, sir. How can I help you today?" Keanu returned the smile, because he knew that moment had changed things. Maybe not the world, but enough. And in the end, it wasn't money that had made a difference that day, it was respect. If you like this story, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.